Have your plans ever been upended? Well, in today's lesson, I am going to teach you what that word means and a number of other English vocabulary and phrases you need to know to improve your English. So hold on to your seat because I've got some breaking news. Well, hello, all of my students. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Jay. Welcome back to the channel. As always, I have another English from the News lesson. I'm going to help improve your English by reading through an article at a moderate pace and explaining key vocabulary words and phrases just for you. Make sure you're paying attention because I have 7 quiz questions for you today to help your comprehension and your memory, okay? So if you're ready for some learning and some laughter, let's dive into today's lesson. Now, according to CNN says that travel plans have been upended as Spirit Airlines shuts down, passengers left scrambling, okay? So when plans are upended, it simply means that things have turned upside down. So things can go from good to bad to worse. They've been upended. Also, upended can be used to describe something being turned over or flipped. So you might say the car was upended because of the strong winds from the storm. But here in this sentence, people's plans were upended. They were turned around, flipped, or caused to go in a bad direction. And notice it says passengers were left scrambling, okay? So oftentimes we are familiar with the word scramble when we talk about our eggs for breakfast. But when people are left scrambling, it says that they are trying to figure out what to do, okay? I was scrambling after I realized I left my insurance paper and driver's license at home. Okay, what am I going to do? What direction am I going in? Okay, so let's dive into the story and do some more learning. Travel plans across the United States were suddenly upended. There's our word again, upended, okay? Let's continue. They were upended after Spirit Airlines announced an immediate shutdown. Okay, immediate, right now, sudden, quickly, without haste, immediately. Okay, a shutdown, a closure. Okay, something goes from open to close, or it stops being in motion. Immediate shutdown. All right. They shut down the company when they learned that the managers were stealing money. Okay. Shut down. All right. Or you can shut down an argument. My wife shut down the argument when she realized I was lying. Okay. Canceling all flights and halting operations. Halting, a great word that is synonymous with stopping. Okay, so all operations came to an immediate halt. Stoppage. So you could actually say to your child, halt right there, stop right there, don't move. All right, freeze. All right. Now, we're talking about Spirit Airlines. And let me say, I have flown Spirit Airlines one time. I was attracted because of their prices, and my experience was not good. And so all it took was one time, and we immediately halted giving them any of our money. I mean, it was just not a pleasant experience. So several years later, here we are, and they have shut down. The airline told customers not to come to the airport. Wow. Leaving thousands scrambling for alternatives. Alternatives, okay? So an alternative is another choice. Okay, so basically they said, don't come to the airport. We're not taking you anywhere. Or if we've already taken you to a destination, figure out how you're going to get home on your own. Boy, that's cold-blooded. Passengers described the situation as caught off guard. Okay? Passengers described the situation as caught off guard. Now, when something is caught off guard or someone is caught off guard, it simply means that they were unaware of what was going to happen. Okay, you caught me off guard is what we would say. Man, I wasn't expecting that. The police officer caught me off guard as I was speeding down the highway. Okay, you caught me off guard. With many learning about cancellations at the last minute. Without warning, travelers, notice these phrases I put in here for you, were left in limbo. So when someone is left in limbo, they are left with few or little positive or productive choices. So you're just going to leave me in limbo? You're just going to leave me at the airport and not give me a refund, not give me a ride home? You're putting me in limbo, okay? I'm going to get home late. I may not get home. So you're left in an awkward situation. Travelers were left in limbo, unsure how or when they would reach their destinations. And I have even read that they were not even giving people refunds. Oh my goodness. If that is true, that is awful. So they took people's money, left them stranded, I've heard, and not giving them a ride home. That is awful. The shutdown reflects deeper financial instability. Okay, so I've given you about 3 phrases to learn, but here's our second vocabulary word, instability. Okay, we've used this before, but I want you to get very familiar with it because this word you can use several different ways. Instability, a noun, lack of security or stability. So the company showed signs of instability. Okay, maybe not giving people refunds, not having good customer service, not offering a good service. But then for 2 weeks, they're doing a good job. But then back for the next 6 months, a bad job. Up and down, instability. Okay, instability within the airline, which had been struggling with rising fuel cost and ongoing economic pressure. Okay, so in other words, the fuel was high and they were not making much money. Experts say the company was already operating, here's another phrase, on thin margins. Okay, say that with me. They were operating on thin margins. All right, so when someone is operating on thin margins, it's a noun phrase, okay? Describes a thing, okay? So thin margins, very small profit or safety room, all right? The business operates, you might say, on thin margins, okay? So if you're trying to run a business and all you have is $1,000, but your expenses are $100, $800. You have to pay taxes. You have to pay your employees. You are operating on thin margins, okay? You don't have much as we would say, leeway or room to maneuver, all right? Thin margins before the final collapse, okay? The business ended or stopped, a final collapse, all right? As flights were canceled nationwide, airports quickly became overwhelmed, and the disruption began to cascade across the travel system. So when something became overwhelmed, it became too much to handle. All right? Disruption began to cascade. Okay? So when something begins to cascade, all right? It's a verb, cascade, to spread quickly in stages. So you might say the problem began to cascade. Okay? So oftentimes when something cascades, we have a phrase that we use. We say it's a domino effect. So first people were not getting refunds. Then people were late. Then people were stranded. Then flights were canceled. Then bags were lost. Cascade of problems. It went from worst to worst. It was a domino effect, okay? And it affected the entire travel system. Other airlines attempted to absorb passengers. Okay, now oftentimes when we think of absorb, we're thinking about maybe a towel. When we're cleaning up, it absorbs the water or something you spilled. But when other airlines attempted to absorb passengers, it says that other airlines like Delta or United or American, they were trying to help solve this problem. Okay, so passengers that were stranded, other airlines stepped in and said, we'll help you out. Okay, but many were forced to pay significant higher prices. Ooh, that's cold-blooded. So it sounds like these other airlines that stepped in were basically saying, we'll help you, but it's going to cost. and could you imagine not having any other resources and you have to pay the price? Some places, maybe you could rent a car to get home. That happened to us during the airport shutdown. We had to drive from Miami all the way back to Atlanta, about 12, 13 hours, because we didn't want to sit around and wait for another flight. So sometimes you just have to find an alternative route, okay? Officials say the sudden closure will have broader ramifications. Ramifications. Say that with me. Ramifications, okay? When we talk about ramifications, serious consequences or effects. So you might say the decision had global ramifications or effects. All right. But you have to live with the ramifications of your choices. All right. Ramifications for the airline industry, especially for budget travelers who relied on low cost options. Yes, Spirit was cheap, but we often say you get what you pay for. Okay. Okay. Let's look at our first quiz for today. All right. Our first quiz, I think I have, let's see here, three options in our first quiz. Let's look at 4 words: cascade, thin margins, and instability. 3 options. Okay. Number 1, use the comment section for your answers. The company showed signs of blank. Number 2, the business operates on blank. Okay. And number 3, the issue began to blank quickly. Okay. So I think I did a pretty good job of explaining these. Cascade, thin margins, and instability are your options. All right. Let's conclude these last few sentences of today's story. The loss of a major carrier could also constrain competition on center or certain routes. Okay, constrain. All right, cause a constrain on competition. So when we talk about a constrain, it's a verb. It has to do with restrictions or to limit. High costs can constrain growth. All right. So in other words, this immediate shutdown is going to hurt businesses. All right. It's going to put a constraint on competition when it comes to the routes, because Spirit could fly certain places at a certain price. Now other airlines must adjust because this major airline is gone out of business. You know, I actually heard on social media that Elon Musk was considering buying Spirit. For many travelers, the experience served as a harsh reminder of how quickly plans can fall apart, leaving people to pick up the pieces when systems, notice, deteriorate without warning. That's a great common English word, deteriorate, okay? When systems deteriorate. So when we use the word deteriorate, say that with me. Deteriorate. It's a verb. It's an action word. To become worse over time. Okay. The tire began to deteriorate in the driveway because it had been sitting for 2 years. Deteriorate. Their relationship began to deteriorate because they did not spend time with one another. Okay. The gloves deteriorated because he wore them every day. So to get worse over time or to break down, deteriorate. Okay. So I have another quiz for you. All right. Another quiz for you. But before I give you the second quiz, let's read through today's article. After I've explained key vocabulary words and phrases, let's read through at a faster pace without stopping. I want you to listen. I want you to try to read along with me, and I'm going to read at a faster pace, okay? But the key is, let's see if you can understand. Travel plans across the United States were suddenly upended after Spirit Airlines announced an immediate shutdown, canceling all flights and halting operations. The airline told customers not to come to the airport, leaving thousands scrambling for alternatives. Passengers described the situation as caught off guard, with many learning about cancellations at the last minute. Without warning, travelers were left in limbo, unsure how or when they would reach their destination. The shutdown reflects deeper financial instability within the airline, which had been struggling with rising fuel costs and ongoing economic pressure. Experts say the company was already operating on thin margins before the final collapse. The flights were canceled nationwide. Airports quickly became overwhelmed, and the disruption began to cascade. That's another great word right there, disruption, okay? Disruption. Began to cascade across the travel system. Other airlines attempted to absorb passengers, but many were forced to pay significantly higher prices. Officials say the sudden closure will have broader ramifications for the airline industry, especially for budget travelers who rely on low-cost options. The loss of a major carrier could also constrain competition on certain routes. For many travelers, the experience served as a harsh reminder of how quickly plans can fall apart, leaving people to pick up the pieces when systems deteriorate without warning. Okay? All righty. Now, I caught another word that I want to give you and explain to you: disrupt or disruption. Okay? to cause a disturbance, to interrupt. So you might say the storm caused major disruption. Okay, travel was affected because of the storm. Okay, all right, let's look at our last quiz. I'll post the answers for you in just a moment so you can check your work. Disruption, deteriorate, constrain, and ramifications are your 4 options. Number 1, the decision had serious blank. Number 2, high cost can blank growth. Number 3, conditions began to blank. And finally, the storm caused major blank. So, can you get all of these right? Let me know down in the comment section, okay? Before we get out of here, I want to remind you, make sure that you take 2 words from today's lesson and practice using them in a sentence within the next week. I want to show you something that one of the subscribers left for me. Notice this comment. I'm not going to read all of it, but the first part says, I just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your content has really helped me understand English words much faster, especially because I can hear them being spoken by a native speaker. That makes a huge difference. When I see and hear you say the words, they stick in my mind much more easily. Okay, so what I'm trying to teach you, my simple strategy, watching the lessons twice, once with the subtitles on and once with the subtitles off. So you can hear, I can explain, and so you can see me enunciate the words. All right. So thank you so much for that comment. I am excited about your progress. I love to hear how the lessons are helping all of my subscribers. Okay. Make sure you just do my simple strategy, and I know it will help you to improve in a short amount of time if you put in the work, okay? With that being said, guys and girls, if this is your first time watching, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that like button. Help me get at least 100 likes. That would be wonderful. If you know someone trying to improve their English, share today's lesson with them. I know that it will help them. All right, with that being said, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Get some rest so you can join me on my next English lesson. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.